After Hamas announced it would postpone the next detainee exchange with Israel until further notice, citing Israeli violations of the agreement, ranging from targeting Gazans returning to the north to blocking aid delivery. The fate of the Gaza ceasefire now hangs in the balance. With Israel threatening a response, what does this mean for the future of the truce? Elsewhere, Ukrainian President Zelensky has emphasized that any peace deal with Russia must include real security guarantees. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump stated that Ukraine may be Russian someday. What impact will have on the conflict and the prospects for peace? Stay with us and welcome to In Focus. Following Hamas's announcement, US President Donald Trump suggested that Israel end the ceasefire in Gaza and resume fighting if all remaining detainees are not freed by the end of the week. According to Times of Israel, Trump conceded that Israel might want to override him on the ultimatum and the Saturday noon deadline, adding that he might speak to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. However, he expressed concerns about the fates of those still being held, predicting that many would not survive if not released in the coming days. These comments came just hours after Hamas announced it would delay the planned release of Israeli detainees, citing Israeli violations of the ceasefire agreement. And for more analysis, we are joined from Paris by Dr. Megid Boudain, an international law professor. A very warm welcome, sir, to the program, and it's a pleasure to have you with us.
Yep.
Considering Israel's ongoing breaches of the ceasefire, including targeting displaced people and obstructing the deliveries and the aid delivery specifically, do you believe Israel will use Hamas's delay as a reason to restart the war in Gaza?
It's very probable, but we have to go back to the basic rules here. And Hamas has no right to keep the hostages or to keep them under its control. It's already against international law. So Hamas must free these hostages, and it cannot be used as tools to make any deals. This is the law. Now, it could be, and second, Hamas must not make an escalation, because the party which is paying the price of such escalation between Hamas and Netanyahu government is the Palestinian people. They are suffering. So Hamas must stop this and obey to the law and leave Netanyahu be against international law. So this is the most wise attitude to be taken. Now we are, Gaza, Palestine and Gaza are in a turmoil. We have seen President Trump talking about buying Gaza, freeing it from its people. So it means making an ethnic cleansing to take all the people out, 2 million people out of their territory, which is something which is contrary to international law. So we don't have to add dramatic things over dramatic things. And we have to not, we know that Netanyahu is going to the end in this, in his attack, in his war. And here we have to be wise and to not play in the hands of Netanyahu. But the Palestinians must find representatives which are acceptable by international community and by the people. and Hamas has made a lot of suffering. Netanyahu is against Palestinian people. Netanyahu has made a huge suffering against Palestinian people, thousands, 50,000 killed people. So this must be brought to an end. And when we see now this, how the matter is developing, we have now to stop this escalation, and we have to be civilized and not use hostages to be exchanged, but to free the hostages and to fight for the right of the Palestinian people.
Sir, you say that Hamas is escalating. And I respect, of course, what you're saying. Don't you read it as if Hamas thinks that if the hostages are given back, then at that point Israel will continue the war very normal and it will go on, and this will be, of course, paid off by the Palestinians and the people of Palestine. So Hamas is now defending the people of Hamas from their own perspective.
It's true that there is a trap here. Netanyahu
What is the trap, sir, exactly?
The trap is that Netanyahu, he's stopping these, or he's not allowing the supply to come into Gaza. He's impeding all these process. He is launching attacks without any acceptable reason, and he's pushing, he's making a provocation to against the Palestinian people, and Hamas is responding. But in the end of the day, now Netanyahu is thinking that he's covered and he's safe from immunity, by immunity, a kind of immunity, a political immunity. It's not a legal immunity. Trump is covering Netanyahu. He is feeling that he has full impunity, and he's doing things which are against international law. Netanyahu is acting against international law. It's not because Netanyahu is acting against international law and committing crimes that the Palestinian people must do the same. And second, Hamas at a certain time must go back and let other people.
Okay, Dr. Boudin, Israel's defense minister has placed the IOF on high alert, warning of potential escalation. How do you assess the Israeli government's readiness to resume hostilities, and do you believe it has the intention to break the ceasefire, which we are discussing and you are discussing, sir?
No, I don't think that the Israeli government now will go against the will of Donald Trump, because Donald Trump, he doesn't want a new escalation. Donald Trump is threatening because of the hostages. So the wisest thing is to not use the hostages, because it's against international law to do that, but to follow the arrangement made and to free the hostages in time, to not give this occasion to Netanyahu and his government to attack again the Palestinians, because the one who will be suffering is the Palestinian people. So they must release these hostages, and you see, under international law, there is a rule which is pacta sunt servanda. It means that there is an agreement, and the agreement should be respected and enforced. The agreement was to free the hostages and to free the other
Next Saturday, the agreement was to free 2 or 3 hostages, not the entire hostages, at 12 noon, sir. And this was the agreement. However, yes, sir, how do you foresee the role of the United States in urging Israel not to break the ceasefire, but which is not obvious, and reach a resolution to to preserve peace, sir?
Yes, but also to complete this deal, to describe the deal completely, Israel must free the Palestinians too. The Palestinian prisoners, or the Palestinian hostages, whatever we can call them, they have to be freed also. And also they have to leave, the trucks come into Gaza, the food and water and all the supply come. This is a deal. It's a complete deal to be done.
Yes, sir, you're saying it's a complete deal. The deal was not that next Saturday all the detainees were going to be released. The deal were 2 or 3 were going to be released next Saturday. Donald Trump today or yesterday made statements that all the detainees had to be freed next Saturday at 12 noon, or the region will be in hell, or Gaza will be in hell.
Well, but this is this must be discussed in a negotiation, because you see, now he is changing the terms of the agreement, and an agreement must not be changed by one side.
So you think he's changing the agreement, like I've been trying to tell you, sir, since the beginning of the conversation.
Yes, it's a tactical move, but in the end of the day, the hostages must be freed, but also the prisoners must be freed, and also the Israelis must leave Gaza completely. The army must leave Gaza completely. So this is the term of the deal, and this must be respected.
Thank you very much, Dr. Majid Boudain, an international law professor. Thank you very much for your insights. Now let's move on to the latest developments in the Russia-Ukraine war. The Independent has reported that Donald Trump suggested Ukraine may eventually become part of Russia, citing the country's agreement with the United States on a rare earth minerals deal. The newspaper added that Trump stated he wants $500 billion worth of minerals in exchange for U.S. support. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Zelensky emphasized the importance of U.S. backing, warning that Europe cannot fill the security gap if the United States withdraws its support. In the latest developments, Ukraine faced widespread blackouts following a major Russian missile strike on Kyiv's energy grid. For more analysis, we are joined from Budapest by Ivan Uas, advisor of the Ukrainian National Center. A very warm welcome, sir, and it's a pleasure to have you with us in today's episode of In Focus. Sir, how do you assess Donald Trump's statement that Ukraine may be Russian someday, and how does this reflect on the broader geopolitical situation, sir, and the implications, of course?
First of all, greetings to you and the audience of Qnews. Thank you for invitation. If we try to analyze Trump, it's, as for me, something like crazy things, because Donald Trump made statement, and in a day or two, he made absolutely controversial statement. That's why now when Donald Trump said that Ukraine can in one day become part of Russia, so we can say that, in one day, I don't know, the United States of America can become part of Canada or Mexico, not vice versa. So I mean that a lot of, as for me, very controversial, yes, try to find this word statement. And for me, it means that Donald Trump have no clear expertise and have no clear understanding what is going on, what's actually the state of affairs in this battle. So that's why without this deep knowledge, of course, he makes some theoretical statements. As for the deal for rare metals, I mean that in Ukraine, that the United States of America could be a part of this process of extracting them for $500 billion. So small history. Ukraine actually in October 2024 proposed this idea in our victorious plan. It happened before president election in the US, because there was a feeling that Donald Trump will win this election. That's why we prepared this proposition for him. We understand that he has a business approach, who said that why should US help to Ukraine? What is our interest? That's why Ukraine try to say, okay, we formulate your interest. Because, in the world of finance, there is a very good joke that if someone gives to you grants that you should not return, it means that people don't believe in you because they want to give you money and forgot about you. But when they give to you credits that you should return, your victory become the part of the interest who give you this credit because they expect to see return. The same situation happened now when Ukraine actually make a proposition to US. Okay, we are not asking you to give to us some weapon and money and forgot about us. No, we need you to be a part of our battle. Yes, today Mr. Hexet, the newly appointed head of Pentagon, made the statement that US Army will not be in Ukraine. But he repeated this phrase several times before, and even predecessors of Mr. Hexet and Mr. Trump, I mean, Joe Biden, Mr. Sullivan, his national security advisor, and Mr. Austin, head of Pentagon in previous administration, they all said that there will be no US soldiers in Ukrainian land. We understand that,
Okay,
but
sir,
we need weapons.
Ukraine has called for strong security guarantees in any potential agreement. From your own perspective, sir, what do these guarantees need to include and how feasible are they in the current context, sir?
First of all, it's a guarantee like several countries have. For example, we know that, for example, the state of Qatar, it's ally of US without NATO. So Ukraine can be in the same status. So we should have such a deal with the United States of America, and quite possible that it could be not substitution of NATO, but at least it could be guaranteed before entering the NATO. Of course, the main guarantee for Ukraine it's our participation in North Atlantic bloc in NATO. But on the one hand, now Ukraine needs that for security guarantee. On the other hand, I think that it will be interesting to NATO that they received a country with experience of having war, because when some countries have understanding of what is war only in theory, it means that in practice they're not so effective. That's why Ukraine can be interesting addition, as for me, to NATO, that Ukraine constantly repeat. And of course, we understand skepticism of Donald Trump, actually as his predecessor Biden, about Ukrainian membership in NATO. And that's, for me, it's very funny when Russia accused US that US want to see Ukraine in NATO. As for me, US do their best not to see Ukraine in NATO, and we constantly hear statements that, oh, probably not now, probably in many, many years. Nevertheless, I think that US should change its philosophy, should understand that Ukraine in NATO, it will be good plus to that bloc. Furthermore, it should be pressure on European countries that they should spend more sources into Ukraine and into Ukraine victory, because one of the problem of current situation.
Okay, sir, as President Trump's special envoy Keith Kellogg works on a proposal to end this war, what role do you see the US playing in facilitating peace talks between Ukraine and Russia, sir?
First of all, preserve sanctions. At first Donald Trump said that he eliminates some sanctions versus Russia, and this for me is a big mistake. The United States of America should preserve this economical pressure on Russia because, Soviet Union disappeared not because someone attacked him. Soviet Union disappeared because the economy was not ready to preserve existence of that country. The same situation can be with Russia. I mean that there should be economic pressure in terms of sanctions, limitation of Russia to receive money from oil, gas, and other industries. They give the money to this war. And of course, I think that they should think about even more sanctions, as Kit Kellogg said, Mr. Trump envoy, about Ukraine and Russia war, that he said that on 3 of 10, he estimates the current sanctions. That's why I think that should be more strict sanctions, first of all, about Russian oil production, about Gray Fleet, about working of IT companies, I mean companies that give software to Russian computers, smartphones. I think that they should little bit restricted. And
Okay,
that
sir, given President Zelensky's firm stance on rejecting territorial concessions, how do you see the situation evolving regarding Ukraine's territorial integrity and any potential diplomatic solution at this point? And of course, considering Donald Trump's statement that Ukraine may be Russian someday.
As I said at the beginning, that is for me, it's crazy statement, but okay, we understand that Trump is a very emotional person, and we don't know what is hide by his statement, because several his statements, as for me, made specially to hide more serious questions that he discussed, and we discussed not the serious things, we discussed his statement. This, for example, about Gaza, is for me, it's just a special statement, just people not to think about more wider. He talks about future situation between Israel and Iran and participation of US. But okay, it's the other question. As for current state, as for Ukraine, I mean, state of affairs, Ukraine says that we don't need Russian Kursk region. So we are ready to return to Russia this land, but we want to see our land in our hands. I understand that Russia controlled much serious territories compared to Ukraine that controlled small part of Kursk region. Nevertheless, as President Zelensky said today in his interview to The Guardian, we are ready for such change. We understand that hardly Russia agree on that. Nevertheless, it's our proposition that we don't pretend on the Kursk region. We are ready to return to Russia, but we expect Russia to return to us our lands. So that's there could be compromise. And
Okay.
yes.
Thank you very much. That was Ivan Yuas, advisor of at the Ukrainian National Center. Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable and informative insights and intellectual knowledge. That brings us to the end of today's episode of In Focus. Thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more coming up here on Q News.